let us all do we can to build a better future.
So RFK Jr. and his campaign is increasingly being challenged by the corporate media. Now, again, I found Dr. West's commentary on RFK Jr.'s campaign to be quite an interesting perspective. And overall, I'm watching RFK Jr.'s campaign with a lot of surprise, and I'm shocked on how much ground he's been able to gain, unlike what we've seen with Bernie Sanders. Now, again, we're still in the early stages of this election cycle. It's only still 2023. But it's clear to me, and it should be clear to all of us, even if you're not going to support the Democratic primary or participate in it, or if you don't want to follow RFK Jr., in comparison, the amount of censorship and suppression that his campaign is getting, even older interviews that he did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, are now being shadow banned or being removed off of YouTube. You have a lot of people choosing not to engage or have conversation with him, not wanting to have town halls. Now, only recently he had a town hall that was in last month on June 28th here in Chicago on News Nation. But since then, it's quite clear, especially with the weakness that we're seeing in Joe Biden, that RFK Jr. is by far a much more credible threat to him in this primary than Bernie Sanders ever was. And let's face it, Bernie Sanders had a movement, and Bernie Sanders, who had lightning in a bottle not once but twice, let it go. So I want to pull up this interview that Glenn Greenwald had in regards towards media gatekeepers and people who want to silence RFK Jr. So let's pull up this video, because then we're going to hear how, surprisingly, corporate media wants to say that the GOP wants to use RFK Jr. as a weapon, which is downright stupid. But let's play this video.
Now joining us is Glenn Greenwald, Pulitzer Prize-winning independent journalist. Glenn, great to see you back on the show. Now, you'd think that if the elites were so confident that they were on the right side of the, let's just say, the vaccine issue, that they'd have no problem debating, confronting, whatever you want to call it, RFK Jr. So what are they so afraid of?
Yeah, I hope you're doing okay after this dangerous man with his dangerous ideas was allowed to be heard on television. I know how threatening that might be. It's really amazing where this is somebody who is a presidential candidate, whether you like it or not, who's polling at 20%. That means millions of people in the Democratic Party say they intend to vote for him for president. And this inclination on the part of people who teach journalism or who call themselves journalists to say that he ought not to be heard from, he ought not to be challenged, he ought not to be engaged is shocking in one way. But in another way, the liberal establishment in the United States has now explicitly adopted the view that people they disagree with aren't people who are wrong, but people who are so beyond the pale that they can't be heard from. And this is just an expression of that really dangerous mindset.
Now, Glenn, other than the vaccines, the other reason that he's persona non grata, they want to deplatform him, is that he has some, unconventional things to say about the war in Ukraine.
Now, before we continue on, it is quite interesting to see this infighting within the Democratic Party. Now, to be clear here, there's been a lot of Silicon Valley investors that are supporting RFK Jr. He is also getting a lot of support from people who are in, I guess, establishment in their own way, supporting his campaign. And what we're witnessing here is possibly the beginning of a true infighting within the Democratic Party. They can't control the narrative, and already under the Biden-Harris administration, and we'll be talking about the Supreme Court later, all the things that progressives and liberals, or dare I say it, the people who were carrying water for Biden and Harris in 2020, all the things that they said that it would be protected under Joe Biden were now lost. Take case in point. Again, Roe v. Wade, gone. Affirmative action, gone. Any semblance of student debt forgiveness, gone. And then finally, again, protections for the LGBTQ community. So it really should, once again, be very clear that Biden doesn't have what it takes. He can't follow through. And all the people that are carrying support or saying that Biden is their guy, they really don't have a leg to stand on. They are completely weak. And here comes RFK Jr. rolling in and embarrassing Joe Biden. Now, whether or not there's going to be a debate, I mean, I think we know the answer. The Democratic Party has indicated that there will be no debate. And I have to keep on drilling this home. And I mean, no disrespect to anybody that'll be voting for RFK Jr. and to a lesser extent, Marianne Williamson. But the Democratic Party has admitted that they are a private institution. There's plenty of legal paperwork that shows them admitting that. And even if in the most wild of scenarios, RFK Jr. wins, possibly, again, this is a wild scenario. If that's the case, the Democratic Party still has the legal power to say, no, Biden or whoever else we pick will be the nominee. You, the voter, don't have a voice in the Democratic primary.
Neglected many opportunities to settle this war peacefully. Myself and my family are very, very sympathetic to the Ukrainian people. I think the way that we have conducted the war is bad for the Ukrainian people, is terrible for the Ukrainian people.
Now, the Democrats are really going to want to shut them up now, right, after that comment.
I think that's the main reason, actually. I don't think they care about the vaccine issue. I think they're promoting that because they think that is what will discredit him. I think what they're most worried about are two things. The fact that he is a Democrat, the only one standing up and saying Joe Biden's war policy is wrong and dangerous and is actually not helping the Ukrainian people, but destroying the country of Ukraine for our own benefit or for the benefit of a tiny number of arms dealers.
So there's something else I want to bring up here as well. And that is the fact that there are media gatekeepers that are so upset at RFK Jr. being part of that News Nation town hall that everyone's favorite journalist, Jake Tapper, who's the lead at CNN, refusing to do a town hall with him. Now, that's quite interesting, but somehow Chris Christie and Nikki Haley are able to get that special treatment, even though their numbers are absolutely abysmal.
Now, even before RFK Jr. and News Nation decided to do that town hall, well, critics were warning that it was a dangerous platform to give to a man they actually might disagree with. Can you believe that? Gabriel Kahn, a professor at USC's journalism school of all places, said it's wrong and irresponsible to give a town hall to Kennedy.
I want to pause here again. Huge shout out to Case Study QB. He is wrongly being censored. So when you hear these people say it's wrong to give RFK Jr. a town hall, it's wrong to give Trump a town hall. Well, this is called democracy, right? It's called, hey, politics 101. Anybody that's running for office needs to introduce themselves to voters. It's not the media's job to say, no, we won't platform you. Obviously, they're running. So that means they have supporters. That means they have a base and infrastructure. That means they need to get their message out there. The whole idea of the press is to cover elections and also, yes, hold those in power accountable, call them out, and ask them why they're running for office and so much more. But now you have a media, establishment media, indicating to you, the citizen, that they are not going to interview certain individuals, that they are not going to give certain candidates a town hall, that they are going to be dismissing them. Hey, Trump, RFK Jr., this is what the Greens and the Libertarians and any other independent candidate has had to deal with for downright decades here in this corporate establishment that we call the U.S. media. And unfortunately, it's going to get worse. And what we as citizens need is more town halls, more debates. People need to know what the hell these politicians are talking about. And more importantly, why the hell should we give a damn about them? And we need to, again, the media, the job is to inform us about these people, what they represent. But yet you have the media saying, don't do it. You have these intellectuals telling you, don't host town halls or debates with these individuals. So they're making a list of people they deem you should not hear from,
who repeatedly spouts demonstrably false claims and makes that the center of his campaign. Now, that sentiment was shared by the prominent media gatekeepers as well.
I think on the Democratic side, you would do a town hall with someone like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I would not. He spreads dangerous misinformation.
Look at him folding his arms. That's Jake Tapper, everybody. I would not. Spreading dangerous information. You guys are foaming at the mouth for ratings, CNN. You need it. Hell, that Trump town hall was a big boost. The fact that you fired the CEO who did that, who instituted that, who made it happen. I mean, what? What does that say about all of you? Again, CNN, it's a sinking ship. Gotta love it.
About childhood vaccines. It's completely discredited, and it's just not true at all. He's so dishonest.
Yeah, why debate or grapple with ideas you disagree with when you can just shut them down? Well, thankfully, the town hall did go forward, and the exchange on his most vulnerable issue was raw, and I found it really compelling.
Your vaccine stance is dangerous to the health and well-being of millions. Medical experts are deeply concerned about your message. How can we help you to come to the side of science? I've never been anti-vaccine, and I've said that hundreds and hundreds of times, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, again, you know, he could be saying the same thing over and over again, and corporate media will keep on smearing you. Case in point, look at what happened to Tulsi Gabbard in 2020. You know, the treasure trove of smears that Tulsi Gabbard had to deal with. Oh, you're a Russian agent. You're a Putin puppet. You're an Assad apologist. You're a traitor. You're a secret Republican. You are going to somehow run third party. You're going to be part of Trump's administration. They kept on saying it, corporate media. They kept on coming out with these headlines about Tulsi Gabbard, and none of it happened. But you know what did happen under the Biden-Harris administration? Rise of inflation, infrastructure falling apart, mass corruption, political corruption, economic instability, ongoing forever wars, Roe v. Wade gone, student debt forgiveness, hell, that's a thing of the past. Medicare for all, good luck with that. That's not going to happen. Affirmative action gone. I mean, hey, vote blue no matter who. Why were you yelling at people to support Biden again? Because somehow Biden was going to be a pro-union worker and care about the rights of citizens, which he never followed through on. It almost seems like vote blue no matter who, and the big brain idiots at corporate media got that one wrong too.
Because that is a way of silencing, using that pejorative. Vaccines should be tested like other medicines. They should be safety tested. And unfortunately, the vaccines are not safety tested. They're not. Of the 72 vaccine doses now mandated, essentially mandated, they're recommended, but they're really mandated for American children. None of them, not one, has ever been subject to a pre-licensing placebo-controlled trial.
So now I want to switch things up. And again, huge shout out to Case Study TV for posting these videos up, because now there's a talk of what Tulsi Gabbard went through. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being used by the GOP to weaken Biden and advocate for Joe Biden to continue to ignore RFK Jr. and not hashtag force a debate, which again needs to happen. If Biden is so confident, if the Democrats are so confident, then they need to force a debate. A debate needs to take place between Biden, RFK Jr., and if she's still in the race, yes, including her, Marianne Williamson, but her campaign is more or less out of steam. Okay. It's the truth. It's downright pathetic, but nonetheless, a debate needs to take place. A conversation needs to take place. And when we see the fact that the Democrats are now trying to throw everything they can at RFK Jr., it should show you how desperate they are. And sooner or later, don't be surprised if we see a conversation being brought up about, well, who else could we replace Biden with? Because, again, it's quite rare. In fact, it's never happened where an incumbent debates his primary challengers. But this might have to be the beginning of that change, where we see an incumbent president fight for himself in the primary. And it could be argued that Joe Biden doesn't have what it takes.
I have seen more than my share of the half-naked pictures of him exercising or whatever. I know that he has become a darling of the Republican Party, even though this man is a registered Democrat.
Now, I do find it interesting that the quote-unquote journalist at DNC is talking about his half-naked pictures. You're focusing on that. Can you elaborate more? Why just start off on that? Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. Those are workout pictures. Now, if you want to see somebody being half naked or full naked, there's a guy named Hunter Biden going all over the internet. Hey, corporate media, you got to talk about that guy? Oh, wait, no, probably not.
Democrat, make it make sense.
it makes sense. Republicans are trying to prop him up so that he can take 2, 3, 4, 5% away from Biden in swing states. They don't need RFK Jr. to win. I mean, you look at the Republicans who are supporting him are people like David Sachs, who are DeSantis people, but just want to pull enough voters away so that Biden doesn't get reelected. This is like absolutely a third party candidate kind of move. And they don't need him to win. They just need him to make Biden lose.
So does Biden then?
So again, look, Biden is his own worst enemy, as are the Democrats who surround him. I mean, there's plenty of political ammunition to use against Joe Biden. To any of the candidates that are choosing not to go full on attack, what are you, dumb, stupid, or dumb? I mean, there's a lot to hit Joe Biden with. Look at his administration. Look at the failures. Look at the unchecked corruption. Look at the incompetence. It's all over. It's there. And everyone in my audience sees it. Everyone across the political spectrum can see it. RFK Jr. doesn't need to lift a finger to make Joe Biden look weak. Joe Biden's doing that to himself, as his entire administration.
Give RFK Jr. any type of credit? Meaning, does he even pay attention to him in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah. First of all, Biden is the incumbent.
Yeah.
Incumbents don't debate random people who decide they want to run for president. That's not.
And again, that's a pretty stupid reason, because if you're an incumbent, again, unless you have the full-on support with your party, but why are there people challenging you? A random person. I mean, have you seen Joe Biden's polling numbers? They're quite abysmal. They're low. Kamala's are even lower. He might not have much of a choice but to debate. And I like how corporate media, from CNN to BS, DNC, they keep on saying, oh, he shouldn't do it. He shouldn't do it. He shouldn't do it. Why exactly? Because as things continue on, as things get worse, Biden is sooner or later going to have to defend himself. And he just can't get up and leave a CNN town hall like how he did earlier over the week, where he just gets up and walks off the stage. I mean, come on, folks. There's something wrong with Biden.
Not how we do it in this country. So no, he ignores him. And I think that the Biden administration is doing exactly that. They don't need, first of all, RFK Jr. is a person for whom, if he debates you, he wins because he gets attention. That's why Dr. Peter Hotez shouldn't debate him. That's why no one should debate him, because he is just a crank. And his whole platform, by the way, is that vaccines cause autism.
If he's a crank, if he's a crazy person, then it should be up to people like Hotez, who shouldn't be a hoe, but Hotez should go ahead and use his big brain knowledge to, hey, school RFK Jr. If he's so smart, so confident, he should do it. But no, what is he tweeting about? What is Hotez doing? He's tweeting out people who are saying, we love you, we support you. Tweeting out articles that give him validation. Well, last I checked, Hotez, you called out Joe Rogan and RFK Jr. first, right? And in a rare moment, we saw Joe Rogan respond back to you on Twitter, giving you a time and place. Hell, Hotez, you were on Joe Rogan's show. Show up. It's not going to be Jerry Springer, like you said. Was it Jerry Springer the last time you were on his show? Yeah, probably not. Most likely not. So go ahead. But the thing is, it's not that not only would probably RFK Jr. could probably school them and embarrass them, but more people will start to look at RFK Jr.'s campaign and be like, oh, hey, he sounds a lot better than Biden, who can't, put together a more coherent sentence and doesn't look like a, wandering old man.
Which we know again and again and again, they do not. And, this man has been responsible for people getting childhood illnesses that they should not be getting, that we have eradicated. And so he's a very dangerous man, and he is being propped up in a very disingenuous way.
RFK Jr., he's a dangerous man. Just wants to run for president. Oh, my goodness. What a tyrant. What a brute. But here, let's check out the recent polls. Because as it stands right now, and again, these numbers can change, Well, when I said that this election cycle is going to be intensifying, it will. So let's pull this up here as well. And again, huge shout out to Case Study QB. He's wrongly being censored on Twitter. For what, I don't know. But if you go into his account incognito, right, it's going to tell you, oh, you got to be logged in because there's sensitive material. Sort of like, oh my goodness, is Case Study QB posting adult material? No, because even when you do log in, you still have to click the view button. And what is he posting? Clips from Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC. Hey, Elon Musk, can you remove the censorship on Case Study QB? That would be great. And side note, Case Study QB was censored under the previous Twitter owners. Again, I wish that his account wasn't, because it would make my life a hell of a lot easier. And everybody else that uses his outstanding videos. So shout out to Case Study QB. Follow him on YouTube and Odyssey as well.
Trump's lead in the 2024 Republican primary field is growing. The former president now at 56%. That's up from 53% just last month. The poll also shows President Biden with a commanding lead over his Democratic primary challengers with 64% to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s 17%. A new Quinnipiac University poll shows a tight race between Trump and Biden in the crucial.
Now, this image right here, I apologize for pausing it because it's pretty depressing, and it puts a pit in my stomach, because I feel nothing but pain looking at this. Two old men fighting over a cold bowl of soup. That's going to be the 2024 election. And once again, we're back here again. And I remember on my show way back in 2020, Daniel and I here at Hardlands Media, we said that this was going to happen, that Trump was going to run again. He was going to run again. And a lot of people we knew said that we didn't know what we were talking about, that we're being crazy, that the walls are going to be closing in on Trump. And that never, ever happened. That didn't happen, which is stupid. Okay? Trump is not going to jail. Trump is going to be running against Joe Biden. He has a strong lead in his primary. And Biden, I mean, look, this is effectively more or less a tie. That's where we're at right now, a tie. I wish we had better elections. I wish we had better people running. But if it comes down to Biden versus Trump, once again, not only do we get the bottom of the barrel, but the American people still get screwed over.
State of Pennsylvania. Trump holding a 1-point lead over Biden in the Keystone State. Lee, Pennsylvania is going to be tricky. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm surprised, frankly, that it's this close.
Yeah.
Despite what everybody has said, that there's no way that Donald Trump has a path in Pennsylvania, the fact that we're looking at a margin of error, or he's got a lead, but it's within the margin of error, is pretty staggering. And I think it should be concerning to Joe Biden, especially. The other thing is, despite the fact that Joe Biden has such an amazing lead in the primaries, still 1 in 4 Democrats is saying they'd rather have someone else, and that is RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson as the alternatives. I mean, can you imagine if there was really somebody that might have more popular appeal? Because those two are, I'm not going to say fringe candidates, but they're non-traditional kinds of candidates that are pulling that much, which is saying there's a huge amount of discontent among the Democratic Party.
Also, 50% of the U.S. population is identifying themselves as independent, be it green, libertarian, or non-affiliate. Also, it should be pointed out that there's a lot of people who are just burnt out by electoral politics and don't give a damn at all. And when you have a system and institution where the top 1% are ruling over us and the people are no longer deemed as valuable by our leaders, well, then, of course, the people are going to be dismissive of the political system, because the political system has indicated that it doesn't give a damn about us.
No, that's why I don't understand why the leadership won't just allow a debate. The people want to hear from these other candidates.
Oh, 80% of Americans right now want to hear a debate on the left. I think it's really important. And it's not just because they want to have a debate on the issues. They want to hear directly from Joe Biden. They haven't heard enough from him, and they want to understand answer the questions. They don't want just a media tour where he's going to go out with flags behind him and say Bidenomics. They want to see him and his command of the issues and tell us what he's going to do for America.
Yeah. Now, again, looking at this number, things can change, but that's a strong lead that Joe Biden has over RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson. But notice again, in various different polls, RFK Jr. is slowly catching up to Biden. And we're still in the early stages of this year. 2024 still hasn't reared its head in the background yet. So a lot can happen between now and the final days of the primary. Now, here's the things that a lot of Democratic voters aren't aware of, especially with the fact that Iowa and New Hampshire are being skipped and that Joe Biden might not be on the ballot. There's a very good likely chance that RFK Jr., which is going to probably be the most likely scenario, comes off with an outstanding win in both those states. But what did the Democratic establishment say? What did the DNC say? We're not going to count those delegates if Iowa and New Hampshire decide to get out of pocket. We're not going to acknowledge them. So that means the voters in Iowa and New Hampshire are being given a middle finger by the Democratic establishment. And as said before, the Democratic Party is a private institution. Check out Nico House's work as well as Convo Couch's work on the fact of election integrity and what took place during the 2016 and 2020 primaries. The DNC is a private institution. The Democratic Party, a private institution. They have no place for the average voter.
Because people are concerned.
Yeah, what is that going to look like, Lily? And Joe Biden on stage with those two candidates. I mean, that's why. They don't want any more gaps.
Well, that is the beauty of democracy. I want to see opinions, similar or not, to make a good judgment and an informed decision.
True. Again, that's the whole idea of democracy. So what can we take away from this? The media is purposely building a shield wall around Joe Biden. They want to make sure that there's no gaffes for Joe Biden. The Democratic establishment wanted to make sure there's no gaps. And of course, you have the vote blue no matter who people who will once again be coming out in full force. We got to support Biden because Trump. Look, I know what to expect of a Trump presidency. And as much as I don't want to see him get reelected, I'm not as afraid as the vote blue no matter who people are. Because I know that the Democrats have been nothing but hypocrites. They did nothing at all to follow through with their promises. Hey, Bernie, AOC, Congressional Progressive Caucus, what kind of lie are you going to throw our way this time? Because I think you've kind of overused the fact of, oh, you're supporting a third-party candidate, so that means you're a Republican, you're helping Trump. Yeah, that doesn't work on me anymore. In fact, when you say that, I'm going to look you in the eye and say, do you have any other better material? I mean, come on. It's like a comedian who uses the same joke over and over again. Eventually, it gets tiring, and people are going to start laughing at you, as they should. So anyone that's going to be participating in this Democratic primary, good luck to you. If you're a RFK Jr. supporter or Marianne Williamson supporter, good luck. Please don't waste too much of your money because, again, the DNC has more control over this election than you realize, and they showed it not once but twice in 2016 and 2020. It's going to be an interesting election year. Tune in to Hardlands Media.